On the morning of the 7th of December, 1941, Pearl Harbor was struck by a devastating surprise attack. Hundreds of Japanese planes roared through the sky, launching a ruthless assault on U.S. naval assets. Battleships exploded in massive fireballs, airfields were engulfed in flames, and the chaos marked one of the darkest days in U.S. military history. The attack was calculated, sudden, and left the American forces overwhelmed. But now, imagine something different. Instead of this being a historic moment as we know it, something modern and unthinkable is dropped right into the heart of the attack. A jet that was never designed for this era. A fighter jet so advanced, it seems like something from the future. What if the most advanced fighter jet on Earth suddenly appeared during this historic attack? What could it possibly do against the overwhelming numbers of enemy aircraft? Could one plane turn the tide of battle? Or would it be just another target in a fight with hundreds of enemies? Let's take a closer look at what we'd be dealing with if the F-22 Raptor showed up in 1941. First off, the F-22 is a marvel of modern engineering. It can fly at speeds exceeding 1,100 miles per hour, or Mach 1.5, without even using afterburners. That's far faster than any aircraft that existed back in 1941. This plane is built to be nearly invisible to radar, a feature that makes it a nightmare for enemies who rely on detecting incoming threats. Its arsenal is loaded, carrying 6 advanced AMRAAM radar-guided missiles, capable of hitting targets from over 50 miles away, and up to nearly 100 miles with the latest version. In addition, it carries 2 Sidewinder missiles for close-range combat, and the powerful M61 Vulcan cannon, capable of firing 100 rounds per second. With its radar, the F-22 can track over 20 targets simultaneously and fire on them before the enemy even knows what hit them. It climbs faster, turns sharper, and flies higher than anything in 1941. It's the ultimate weapon. But here's the catch. Despite all its power and advanced technology, it's still just a single jet in a sky filled with hundreds of enemy planes, and it's facing some serious obstacles. In 1941, there was no support system for a jet like the F-22. The ground crews, the spare parts, the fuel, none of these were available. No one could fix it if something went wrong, and the aircraft could not be refueled with the technology and infrastructure of that time. There would be no one who could even understand its systems, let alone repair or maintain it. The Raptor only gets one chance to perform, and if something goes wrong, it's finished. So, the question remains, can one F-22 even make a difference in such a large-scale attack? Let's break it down by looking at the situation it's facing. On the morning of the 7th of December, 1941, the Japanese launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor with 353 aircraft, split into 2 waves. The majority of these were Mitsubishi A-6M0 fighters, Nakajima B-5N torpedo bombers, and Aichi D-3A dive bombers. These planes were fast and nimble for their time, but were still far behind the F-22 in terms of technology and speed. The A-6M0, for instance, could only reach speeds of around 330 miles per hour, while the bombers were even slower, barely able to hit 230 miles per hour. This would be like sending a fighter jet against a group of propeller-driven planes that don't have radar, guided weapons, or anything approaching modern technology. They would rely on close combat, tight formations, and raw coordination to overwhelm their opponents. In our scenario, the F-22 lifts off just as the first wave of Japanese planes approaches. As it climbs rapidly into the sky, it scans the horizon with its powerful radar. Within moments, it locks onto multiple targets, all over 30 miles away. The Japanese planes don't even know the jet is there. The Raptor fires its first AMRAAM missile. In seconds, a tight formation of enemy planes disappears in a burst of fire. No warning, no time for the pilots to react. Panic spreads throughout the attacking fleet. The bombers break formation, and the fighters scatter, trying desperately to figure out where the threat came from. The F-22 makes another pass, taking out more planes as the confused Japanese pilots scramble to regroup. By the time they realize that they're under attack from a single unseen jet, A dozen of their planes are already gone. The Raptor's speed and firepower have left them reeling. Yet, they still have not even seen the jet. It's all happening at lightning speed. The F-22 is having its way in the sky, but the attack isn't over. A second wave of 170 planes is on the way. The alarm sounds across Pearl Harbor. Soldiers rush to their anti-aircraft guns, but the threat is already hovering high above them. The F-22 is winning the air battle, but there are still far too many planes in the sky. The Raptor is fast, but it can't be everywhere at once. It's a race against time. The F-22 can fight for about 30 to 40 minutes before it runs out of fuel. After that, it either has to land or it goes down, and landing becomes its next problem. The F-22 uses a fuel blend that didn't exist in 1941, so there's no way to refuel it on the island. And no one has the technical expertise to maintain or repair it. If something goes wrong, the jet is effectively out of commission. Even worse, without spare parts or the proper tools, the jet would have a limited lifespan. In contrast, the Japanese forces have fully operational logistics. Aircraft carriers stocked with fuel, bombs, and trained deck crews who can rearm, refuel, and launch planes at a moment's notice. Now let's take a look at what the F-22 can actually accomplish. In a perfect world, the Raptor would take down around 10 to 13 Japanese planes before it runs out of ammo or fuel. That's enough to disrupt one wave of attack, but it's not enough to stop the entire onslaught. The bombers, which are slower and more vulnerable, could be the primary targets for the Raptor, and if they are taken out, it would certainly protect the ships and airfields from massive damage. But even a flawless mission with no mistakes can't protect every single target. What happens next is pivotal. While the F-22 can't prevent all the damage, the shock alone would throw the Japanese pilots off course. They'd be facing an enemy they didn't even know existed. The confusion would likely create panic in their ranks, and for the Americans, the sight of this futuristic jet ripping through the sky would boost morale significantly. They may not know what it is, but they would know that something extraordinary was happening above them. Pearl Harbor would still suffer a devastating attack, but the presence of the F-22 would have altered the outcome. It wouldn't have stopped the attack completely, but it would have shaken the enemy and given the U.S. forces a fighting chance. The disaster would still unfold, but the initial wave might have been disrupted. This would change the dynamics of the battle, and perhaps even the course of the war itself, affecting the morale and strategic decisions on both sides. In the end, it's not about the F-22 stopping everything. It's about how its presence would change the battlefield. It may have limited capacity to stop all the planes, but the very fact that it could disrupt such an overwhelming attack, perhaps turning the tide of the battle and shaking the attackers to their core, would have a profound impact on the history of Pearl Harbor. In this alternate scenario, the F-22 couldn't have stopped Pearl Harbor from happening, but it would have shaken up history in ways that we can only imagine. What do you think? How do you think the presence of the F-22 would have changed history? Please share your thoughts in the comments below.